Hello, my friend. Let me tell you a story that has been passed through generations, a story of courage, faith, and the power of God. Long ago in the lands of Egypt, there was a mighty king, Pharaoh. He ruled with absolute power, controlling the Nile, the lands, the people, and even their hearts. Pharaoh was proud, so proud that he thought himself greater than anyone, greater than any god. His wealth, his armies, his grand palaces, they made him feel untouchable, but his heart had grown hard, blind to the truth, and deaf to the warnings that came from the one true God. In this land of gold and power, the children of Israel were suffering. They worked from sunrise to sunset under the harsh hand of Pharaoh's overseers. Their lives were full of labor and sorrow, yet in their hearts, hope never vanished completely. In those times, a child was born, a boy named Musa, who would grow to become a messenger of God. From the moment of his birth, Musa's life was marked by divine care. His mother, guided by faith and hope, placed him in a basket upon the Nile. She prayed for his safety and entrusted him to the river. The Nile carried him gently to the palace of Pharaoh, where he was found and raised among wealth and learning, surrounded by luxury, unaware at first of the hardships of his own people. Musa grew into a man of wisdom, strength, and compassion. He learned the ways of the palace, yet his heart remained pure and gentle. One day, Musa witnessed an injustice, an Egyptian striking an Israelite. His heart burned with anger and compassion. He could not stay silent. Musa defended the oppressed and acted against the oppressor. Yet, danger followed quickly, and he realized he could not remain in Egypt. Fearful for his life, he fled, wandering through deserts and mountains until he found safety among the people of Midian. There, he lived humbly, tending flocks, learning patience, and reflecting deeply on life, justice, and the nature of God. One day, while watching over his flock on a quiet, serene mountain, Musa noticed a fire that did not consume the trees around it. Strange, warm, glowing, it called to him. From the fire, a voice spoke, "Musa, I am your Lord, the most merciful. Go to Pharaoh. Tell him to release my people, the children of Israel. Command him to obey, for his pride and cruelty have blinded him to the truth." Musa trembled, unsure how he could face such a mighty king. Yet God reassured him, giving him courage, signs, and a helper, his brother Harun. Together they approached the palace, where Pharaoh sat in splendor, surrounded by advisors and treasures, his face stern, proud, and unyielding. "Mighty Pharaoh," Musa said, his voice calm but firm, "I am a messenger from the Lord of the worlds. Release the children of Israel, for their God is one, and his command is just." Pharaoh laughed, a sound full of arrogance and pride. "Who is this Lord?" he demanded. "I am Pharaoh, ruler of Egypt. I fear no God I cannot see." Musa replied steadily, "Your power is only temporary, Pharaoh. The one true God created the heavens and the earth, the sun and the stars, and all that exists. Obey him or face the consequences of defiance." Thus began the long and trying struggle between Pharaoh and Musa. Musa performed miracles to show the truth. His staff became a serpent, his hand shone brilliantly when revealed. Pharaoh called upon his magicians, men skilled in deception, to challenge these signs. Yet when they saw the true miracles of God, their hearts were moved. They fell in prostration, saying, "We believe in the Lord of Musa and Harun." Pharaoh's pride only deepened. He refused to release the people. He increased their labor, trying to break their spirits. Musa remained patient, guided by God. Plagues came upon Egypt. Rivers turned to blood. Frogs covered the land. Lice and pestilence struck the people. Hail and darkness spread. But Pharaoh's heart stayed hard. Years passed. The children of Israel grew weary, but Musa reminded them, "Trust in God, be patient, relief will come." Finally, the day arrived when Pharaoh, furious and confident, pursued the children of Israel toward the sea. They were trapped, or so Pharaoh thought. But God commanded Musa, "Strike the sea with your staff." Musa obeyed. The waters parted, creating a path with walls of water on each side. The Israelites walked safely on the seabed. Pharaoh and his armies followed, but the waters returned, drowning them completely. Musa and his people were saved. They walked through the wilderness, guided by God, learning patience, faith, and trust. This story travels through time, reminding us that arrogance cannot win against truth, and that those who trust in the most merciful will always find their way. As the children of Israel continued their journey through the vast deserts, Musa spoke to them every day. Do not despair, he would say, even when the path seems endless. Trust in God, for he guides the steps of those who are patient. He provides for those who rely upon him, even when food and water are scarce, even when hope seems distant. The people listened, some with weary hearts, some with renewed courage. They saw in Musa a guide not just of words, but of action. He reminded them that freedom is not only from chains, but from fear, from despair, from the doubts that weaken the heart. And though Pharaoh's shadow had been removed from their lives, the lessons of patience, faith, and trust were now more important than ever. During the nights, when the sky was filled with countless stars, Musa would climb the hills, speaking quietly to God. Lord, he would say, grant me patience, grant me courage, give me the strength to lead your people through these trials. Let their hearts remain faithful, and let them never forget your mercy. And in the stillness, in the whisper of the wind, in the quiet rustle of sand, Musa felt God's presence, comforting and guiding him. One day, as the people rested beside a dry riverbed, they began to complain. We are thirsty, they said. We have no food. How will we survive in this endless desert? Musa remained calm. He lifted his staff and struck the ground. And from that very spot, water gushed forth, clear and fresh. The people drank, they washed, and they rejoiced. This is God's mercy, Musa said. Remember him, give thanks, and trust in his provision. But their journey was not yet over. Each day brought new challenges. The desert was harsh, with blazing sun, shifting sands, and cold nights. Sometimes fear would creep into their hearts. Sometimes doubt whispered, will we ever reach a safe land? Will freedom ever feel permanent? And each time Musa reminded them, faith is stronger than fear. Courage is stronger than despair. The most merciful is always near. Musa's own heart carried the weight of leadership. He knew that getting a people through hardship was not easy, but he trusted in God's plan. He knew that the lessons they learned in the desert were as important as the freedom they had gained from Pharaoh's chains. Patience, gratitude, trust, and faith. These were the treasures that could never be taken away, even in the hardest times. As days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, the people of Israel grew stronger, not just in body, but in spirit. They learned to support one another, to share, to forgive, to listen. They saw that God's mercy is not only in miracles like water from the rocks or food from the heavens, but in the hearts of those who care for each other, who act with justice and kindness. Musa would often speak to them at sunset, as the sky turned gold and crimson. Look at the horizon, he would say, and remember that life is like this desert. Sometimes it is harsh, sometimes it is beautiful, but every step you take in faith brings you closer to God's mercy. And so they journeyed on, through the sands, through the nights filled with stars, through the trials and the blessings, learning every day the meaning of patience, courage, and devotion. Pharaoh's tyranny was behind them, but the lessons of the past stayed with them, shaping their hearts, guiding their actions, and strengthening their trust in the one true God. The journey of Musa and the children of Israel stretched on through endless sands and rolling dunes. Each day tested their patience, each night reminded them of the vastness of the world and the mercy of God. Musa walked among his people, encouraging them, calming their fears, reminding them that God's guidance is always near. Do not let your hearts grow heavy with worry, he said. Every step we take is seen by God, and every trial we endure is a chance to strengthen our faith. Some days hunger would make the journey feel unbearable. The people would complain, Musa, how long will this desert last? Where is the food we need to survive? And Musa, calm and steady, would reply, God provides in ways that may not be visible yet. Trust him and he will sustain us. Today we have what we need, tomorrow he will provide. Keep patience and be thankful for each blessing, however small. One day the people became thirsty again. The desert sun burned brighter than ever and their lips were dry. Panic rose among them, but Musa, guided by God, raised his staff and struck the ground. Immediately water gushed forth from the earth, clear and cool. The people drank and rejoiced. Musa said gently, see, this is the mercy of God. He provides for those who trust him, even in the most impossible moments. Remember this and do not let doubt enter your hearts. As they traveled, the lessons of faith deepened. The children of Israel began to care for one another more, sharing food and water, supporting those who stumbled, and forgiving those who erred. Musa taught them that the journey was more than survival, it was a training of hearts and minds. True freedom, he said, is not just leaving the hands of oppressors. True freedom is leaving fear, doubt, and despair behind. it is having faith, courage, and mercy in your heart at all times. The nights in the desert were long but beautiful. Stars stretched endlessly across the sky, and Musa would climb the hills, speaking quietly to God. "Lord," he whispered, "give me strength, give me patience. Let me guide these people well, protect their hearts, strengthen the fearful, and grant courage to those who are lost. Let all our hearts remain faithful to you." Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. The people grew stronger, not only physically but spiritually. They learned to trust in God's timing, to endure hardship with patience, to act with kindness, and to show mercy. They realized that the desert was more than a place of suffering. It was a school for the heart, a place where faith could grow and courage could be tested. Even when Pharaoh was gone, his shadow lingered in their minds. The memory of oppression and cruelty was a reminder of the importance of patience and obedience to God. Musa reminded them, "Never forget the lessons of Egypt. Remember the hardships we endured, and let them guide your actions. Let mercy, justice, and faith shape your lives." And sometimes fear crept into their hearts. Some nights the cold wind would bite, and the endless sands would make the journey seem hopeless. They would whisper among themselves, "Will we ever reach a safe land? Will freedom last?" Musa would stand before them calm and steady and say, "Do not fear. Every hardship is a test, every trial a chance to strengthen your hearts. God is always with us. Keep faith, and the path will become clear." Musa also knew the burden of leadership. Every complaint, every fear, every doubt weighed on him, yet he never allowed despair to enter his soul. He prayed constantly, seeking wisdom and patience, seeking the strength to guide the people. "Lord," he would whisper into the night, "lead us through this journey. Protect the weak, strengthen the fearful, and grant courage to those who are lost. Let all our hearts remain faithful to you." Through it all, Musa reminded them that true strength lies in faith, true freedom in patience, and true courage in mercy. "Remember," he would say, "God does not only provide food and water, He provides hearts that can endure, spirits that can forgive, and minds that can see truth even in darkness. Trust Him, and you will never be lost." And so they continued, step by step, day by day, learning patience, trust, courage, and faith. Every hardship, every challenge became a lesson. Every star in the sky reminded them of God's greatness. Every gust of wind and shift of sand carried God's guidance. As the days passed, the children of Israel grew closer to one another. They learned to support each other, to share their burdens, and to face every hardship together. Musa reminded them constantly, "Remember, true freedom is not only escaping Pharaoh's hand. True freedom is freeing your heart from fear, doubt, and despair. Trust in God's mercy, be patient on His path, and show kindness to one another. This is the real liberation." Sometimes during the cold desert nights, some would whisper among themselves, feeling weary from the journey. "How long will this path last? Will we ever reach a safe land?" Musa would stand before them, calm and steady, and say, "Do not let fear grow in your hearts. Every trial is a lesson, every hardship a chance to strengthen your faith. God is always near. Step forward with trust, and He will guide you." As they continued their journey, the desert tested them in many ways. The sun scorched them by day, the nights were cold and silent, and water and food were scarce. Yet each test became an opportunity to grow, to learn patience, endurance, and gratitude. Musa reminded them, "God provides in ways we may not yet see. Every step you take with faith brings blessings, even in the hardest times." Through all of this, Musa himself carried the weight of leadership. Every complaint, every fear, and every doubt of the people weighed heavily on him, but he never allowed despair to enter his heart. In the quiet nights, beneath the endless stars, he would pray, "Lord, grant me patience, grant me wisdom. Let me guide these people with your light. Protect their hearts, strengthen their spirits, and keep their faith unwavering." And so the people of Israel continued to walk, day by day, step by step. Each hardship became a lesson, each trial a reminder of God's greatness. The winds that blew across the sands, the shifting dunes, and even the scorching sun all carried the guidance of the most merciful. Musa taught them that true strength lies in faith, true courage in mercy, and true freedom in patience and trust. With each passing day, their hearts grew stronger, their spirits steadier, and their faith more enduring. They learned that freedom is not just leaving chains behind, it is carrying faith, patience, courage, and mercy within. And as they walked through the endless desert, guided by Musa and trusting in God, they discovered the deeper meaning of survival, devotion, and unity. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, yet the children of Israel continued their journey through the vast desert. Every day brought new challenges, yet every challenge carried a lesson. Musa would walk among his people, speaking words of encouragement and reminding them to keep their hearts steadfast. "Do not despair," he would say. "Even when the path is long and the sun burns hot, even when food and water are scarce, God is with us. Every trial is a test, every hardship a lesson. Trust in Him, and He will never abandon you." Some nights when the desert sky was filled with countless stars, the people would gather around Musa, seeking comfort and wisdom. "Musa," they would ask, "how can we endure this endless journey? When will our suffering end?" Musa would look at them gently and reply, "Patience, my friends, trust in God. Every step we take in faith brings us closer to His mercy. Do not let fear or doubt take root in your hearts. The journey is long, but God's guidance is certain." As they continued, the people learned more than survival. They learned to support one another, to forgive, to share, and to act with kindness. Musa taught them that the journey was a training of hearts and spirits. "True freedom," he said, "is not only leaving oppression behind. True freedom is carrying faith, patience, courage, and mercy within your hearts. This is what will guide you through life, even beyond the desert." The desert itself became their teacher. Its scorching days reminded them to be grateful for shade and water. Its cold nights reminded them to find warmth in each other's presence. Its vastness reminded them of God's greatness and the smallness of human worry. Every gust of wind, every shifting sand dune, every star above was a reminder of the mercy and guidance of the most merciful. Musa himself carried the heavy burden of leadership, but he never wavered. Every complaint, every fear of the people he met with patience and prayer. In the stillness of the night, he would whisper to God, "Lord, grant me strength. Let me guide these people with wisdom. Protect their hearts, strengthen their spirits, and keep their faith strong. Teach them patience, courage, and trust, so that they may walk with you always." And so they continued, walking day after day, step after step. With each trial, their hearts grew stronger, their spirits steadier, and their faith more enduring. They learned that survival was not only physical, it was spiritual. It was in the courage to face fear, the patience to endure hardship, and the mercy to care for one another. Every challenge strengthened their unity. Hunger, thirst, exhaustion, they faced them together. Every trial taught them gratitude, every moment of relief taught them trust. Musa reminded them constantly that freedom was more than escaping oppression. It was the cultivation of the soul, the training of the heart, and the strengthening of faith. Through the vast desert, the children of Israel walked under the endless sky, guided by Musa and protected by the mercy of God. And with every step, they discovered that true freedom is faith, true courage is patience, and true strength is love for one another. The days in the desert grew longer, yet the children of Israel learned to endure. Each morning, as the sun rose over the endless dunes, Musa would gather his people and remind them, "Look at the horizon. Every day we walk is a gift from God. Even the hardest steps bring us closer to His mercy. Keep faith, keep patience, and help one another. This is the path to true freedom." Some travelers grew weary and frustrated. "Musa," they would murmur, "why must the journey be so long? Why do we face so many hardships?" Musa would gently reply, "Every challenge has a purpose. Every hardship is a teacher. The desert is shaping our hearts, our minds, and our spirits. Trust in God. He guides us, even when the road seems endless." Food and water were often scarce. The heat of the day would drain their strength, and the cold nights would test their endurance. Yet each difficulty became a lesson. When they had no water, Musa would strike the ground with his staff, and God would provide. When they faced hunger, He would send sustenance from unexpected places. Each miracle reminded them of God's mercy and reinforced their trust. Over time, the people began to see the value in patience, unity, and gratitude. They learned to share, to care for those who were weak, and to forgive those who stumbled. Musa constantly reminded them, "Freedom is more than leaving oppression behind. True freedom is what you carry in your hearts: faith, courage, patience, and mercy. This will guide you in every trial you face." Even Musa felt the weight of leadership. Every complaint, every doubt, and every fear of his people rested upon his shoulders, but he never lost hope. At night, under the vast sky filled with stars, he would pray, "Lord, give me strength. Guide me in leading your people. Protect their hearts, strengthen their spirits, and keep their faith unwavering. Let them walk with courage, patience, and love. And so they continued through the desert. Every day brought new lessons. Every night brought reflection. The wind, the sand, the stars, and the sun all became teachers in the ways of God. Through every challenge, the people grew stronger, more united, and more steadfast in faith. The children of Israel began to understand that their journey was more than physical, it was spiritual. Endurance in hardship taught them patience. The need to share taught them kindness. The miracles of God taught them gratitude. And through it all, Musa reminded them, no trial is wasted. Every step, every hardship, every moment of trust in God is shaping your hearts for the life ahead. As the weeks turned into months, their understanding deepened. They saw the desert not just as a place of struggle, but as a school of the soul. Each step forward, each act of mercy, each prayer whispered under the night sky brought them closer to God and closer to becoming the people they were meant to be. Time passed, and the children of Israel grew wiser with each day. They began to notice the beauty hidden in the harsh desert, the way the sunlight danced on the dunes, the way the stars shimmered like jewels in the night sky, and the gentle sound of the wind as it moved across the sands. Musa would point these out to them and say, even in hardship, there is beauty. Even in struggle, there is mercy. Look around you and see God's guidance in all things. The people started to rely not only on Musa's leadership, but on each other. When someone faltered from exhaustion or fear, another would offer a hand, a word of encouragement, or a portion of food. See, Musa would say, this is the strength of community. God's mercy works through you, through your care for one another. One day, a particularly harsh storm swept through the desert. The sand whipped around, blinding and sharp, and the travelers feared for their safety. Musa called out, stand together, hold fast to each other and trust in God. They linked arms, forming a human chain, and slowly moved forward through the storm. When it passed, they looked around at the desert, now calm and serene, and realized that God's protection had carried them through. The lessons of patience, trust, and unity became more vivid with each passing day. They understood that freedom was not simply a matter of leaving Pharaoh behind, it was about the growth within themselves. Fear was replaced by courage, doubt by faith, and despair by hope. Musa reminded them daily, the trials you face are shaping your hearts. God's guidance is always present, even when you cannot see it. Remember this and walk in faith. Even at night, under the endless canopy of stars, Musa would walk among his people. He would whisper prayers of gratitude for their perseverance and guidance for the days ahead. Lord, he said, let their hearts remain steadfast. Let them carry patience, courage, and mercy in all that they do. Let their faith shine as a light, even in the darkest nights. As months turned into years, the children of Israel learned that life itself is a journey of faith. The desert became a teacher, the stars a map, and God's mercy a constant companion. Every hardship, every challenge, every moment of fear became a lesson in endurance and trust. And through it all, Musa's guidance reminded them of what truly mattered: love, faith, patience, and the unshakable presence of God in every step of their lives. Step by step, they moved forward. Day by day, their spirits grew stronger, and with each step, they carried with them the lessons of the past, the faith of the present, and the hope for the future. They began to understand that the journey itself, with all its struggles and blessings, was a sacred path, leading them toward wisdom, unity, and the mercy of God. The children of Israel walked on, day after day, through the endless desert. The sun blazed overhead, yet they kept moving, guided by faith and the words of Musa. Do not grow weary, he would say. Every step forward is a step toward God's mercy. Every hardship you endure strengthens your hearts and your spirits. Trust in him, and he will never abandon you. Some days the journey seemed unbearable. The winds blew fiercely, sand filled their eyes, and water was scarce. Yet even in those moments, they discovered courage within themselves and each other. When one faltered, another would lift them up. When fear whispered in their ears, they reminded one another of God's protection. Musa constantly reminded them, true freedom is not simply the absence of oppression. True freedom is the presence of patience, trust, and mercy in your hearts. This is what will guide you forever. At night, under the sparkling blanket of stars, Musa would climb a nearby hill and pray quietly. Lord, he would say, grant them strength and patience. Protect their hearts, their minds, and their souls. Teach them to walk with courage, to act with kindness, and to keep faith in every trial they face. And in those silent moments, when the wind whispered across the sands and the stars shimmered overhead, the people felt God's presence. They began to understand that every hardship had meaning, every struggle carried a lesson, and every blessing was a gift of mercy. Through the harsh sun and freezing nights, through hunger and thirst, the children of Israel grew stronger. They learned to share what little they had, to care for one another, and to forgive the mistakes and fears of those around them. Musa reminded them constantly, unity, patience, and trust are more valuable than gold or power. This is what God truly desires in your hearts. The desert continued to test them, yet with each challenge, they became more resilient. They saw that their journey was not only about reaching a safe land, but about shaping their souls. Fear turned into courage, doubt into faith, despair into hope. And with every lesson learned, they moved forward with renewed determination, step by step, day by day. Musa's guidance never wavered. He reminded them, the desert is a teacher. Every gust of wind, every grain of sand, every night under the stars carries a message from God. Pay attention, and you will learn patience, endurance, and mercy. These are the treasures that no one can take away from you. And so they continued. Each day they walked together, encouraged one another, and learned the lessons of faith and devotion. The journey through the desert was long, but it strengthened their hearts, unified their spirits, and deepened their trust in God. Step by step, they moved toward a future shaped not only by freedom from oppression, but by freedom of heart, by courage, by patience, and by mercy. And in every moment, they remembered the words of Musa, walk in faith, act with kindness, and trust in God, for He is always with you, guiding every step of your journey. The children of Israel continued their journey. They began to notice the small miracles that surrounded them every day. Water from a hidden spring, shade from a solitary tree, and the guidance of birds flying across the desert, all were signs of God's mercy. Musa would point these out to the people and say, see, God's blessings are everywhere. Even in the harshest places, His care is present. Keep your hearts open, and you will always find His guidance. The people started to care for one another more deeply. When one grew tired or fearful, another would share encouragement, food, or water. This, Musa said, is the strength of unity. God's mercy works through you when you show kindness and support to one another. The journey was not without hardship. Fierce storms swept across the desert, sand filled their eyes, and nights were bitterly cold. But every challenge brought them closer together. Musa reminded them, do not despair. Every hardship is a lesson, every trial an opportunity to grow. Trust in God, and your hearts will remain strong. Each evening, under the starry sky, Musa would speak to the people, reminding them of patience, courage, and faith. True freedom, he said, is not leaving chains behind alone. It is the presence of trust, mercy, and courage within your hearts. These qualities will guide you through every challenge you face. Over time, the people began to feel the desert as a teacher rather than a place of suffering. They learned that life is a journey of faith, and each difficulty was a step towards spiritual growth. Fear turned into courage, doubt into trust, and despair into hope. The children of Israel began to understand that their true strength lay not in escaping hardship, but in enduring it with faith, patience, and mercy. Musa continued to lead with wisdom, teaching them that every moment, every grain of sand, and every gust of wind carried lessons from God. Look around you, he said, and see His guidance. Every challenge has purpose, every blessing has meaning, and every step you take is a gift. Walk with patience, act with kindness, and keep faith in your hearts. And so they pressed on, moving day by day through the endless desert, their hearts growing stronger, their spirits more steadfast, and their faith unwavering. They discovered that true freedom and true strength were found in patience, unity, courage, and the mercy of God. Step by step, their journey continued. Each day they grew not only in body but in spirit, learning lessons that would stay with them forever. And through it all, Musa reminded them, walk with faith, act with mercy, and trust in God. He guides every step, and His mercy never ends. The journey continues step by step. They move forward, hearts brave, faith unshakable. Trials come, miracles await, and their story is just beginning.